Continuing on with color coding our organelles, there's 5 cells that we were doing on the bacteria. The outermost layer is called the capsule. It's for protection, and so all of this on the outside of the cell wall is going to be colored red. When you think about a capsule, a lot of times you think about maybe like a Tylenol or a pill that you swallow, and that outer coated, you think of it as being plastic, but it's not. It's actually probably gelatin. But it coats that pill so that it doesn't dissolve in your mouth. It makes it easier to swallow. A lot of times they are time released, so they dissolve slowly so that they allow the medicine out at a certain rate, so that maybe your Tylenol will last 8 hours or whatever. Bacteria have a hard outer coating on them for protection as well, and that is what we're coloring here. That's called the capsule. None of the other eukaryotes that we have shown here have a capsule, and I can't even think of one that would have a capsule, so that might be one thing that only your prokaryotic, your bacteria have. These little hair-like things we're going to color with brown. These are called pili. One of them would be pilus, but these are used not for movement, but actually they're used in reproduction. They're also used to help them attach themselves to different areas, kind of like Velcro, like the hooks on Velcro. So these are on the outside of the bacteria. Those are called pili. And the other examples do not have those. Next, we're going to get a light blue. And if you don't have but one blue, you can just color it not very dark, very lightly. We're going to be looking at the vacuoles. Now, all of these organisms in the eukaryotic have vacuoles. This one in the euglena is a little bit different. It says it's a contracting vacuole, meaning it gets smaller and larger. It kind of looks like a flower here. Sometimes I've seen them drawn, they look like a star. It's just trying to show you in a two-dimensional freeze frame that this gets bigger and smaller. It gets bigger and smaller, so contracting vacuole. Here we have, again, we've got our parent cell, which is fully developed, and it has what I would say is a medium-sized vacuole in our fungus. And then in our bud, we don't actually even see the vacuole yet, so we're just going to kind of draw one in and put that kind of in there as our vacuole. These are not contracting, they're just a regular vacuole. But when you look at the plant and animal cell vacuole, you'll notice that the animal cell vacuole is medium or small, but look at the vacuole on that plant cell. There is a huge vacuole on the plant cell. One of the identifiers, if you're trying to figure out based on clues what cell you have, is if you have a cell wall and you have well, first, if you have a nucleus, it's eukaryotic. And then if you, in that eukaryotic cell, if you have a cell wall and if you have chloroplast and if you have a really large vacuole, then that's probably a plant cell. Okay, you're going to need a light green. We're looking at our plant cell. And notice there are two shapes that look very similar. The one that looks like it has little coins inside of it, that's going to be our chloroplast. Those are the location of the green pigment called chlorophyll, and those little coins actually represent the chlorophyll. That's where photosynthesis occurs. And so this would be an organism that could make its own food by photosynthesis, but it's not the only organism that can make its own food. Notice this one doesn't have any of those. Animal cells are not autotrophs. They can't make their own food. However, we do have other organisms beside plants that can do photosynthesis. And so in your euglena, your protista here, you have some chloroplast. That means this is a organism that can make its own food. It's an autotroph. You don't have any of those in your fungus. So next you're going to need a brown. The mitochondria is the opposite, or has the opposite function as a chloroplast. But when we talk about chloroplasts do photosynthesis. They take water and oxygen and water and carbon dioxide, and they make glucose. In the mitochondria, which look kind of like a little cigar or a little potato, they take glucose and oxygen and break it down to release the energy from those chemical bonds that are in glucose. And so you have to have mitochondria in order to release that energy. And so that's why they are called the powerhouse of the cell, because they break down glucose to release the ATP, or energy. So in our parent cell and in our bud, in our euglena, in the animal cell picture, these with that little zigzag line, those are mitochondria. Sometimes they'll show them opened or closed, but the zigzag or line is usually the indicator, meaning that's like energy. Plant cells also do cellular respiration. They don't only do photosynthesis. They've got to be able to use the glucose too. And so they need the energy that's stored in those chemical bonds also. And so they also have mitochondria. A lot of students think, oh, they only have chloroplasts. No, they have mitochondria too. Next, we're going to look around the nucleus, and we're going to find some little lines here. These are called endoplasmic reticulum, and they are always located near the nucleus. And there's usually a smooth and a rough. Smooth doesn't have any ribosomes on it. Rough has ribosomes on it. So we're just going to arbitrarily put some little black dots onto one of them and make it the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Oh, don't forget your little bud here. We got to do its endoplasmic reticulum too. By the nucleus. That's how you can tell it's not the Golgi body, is because it's right by the nucleus. And here's the picture of them in this instance, and here, and here, and here. And then you're going to put black dots. So here's the rough endoplasmic reticulum with the ribosomes on the endoplasmic reticulum. Here's the smooth, no ribosomes. Same thing for here. The next one, you're going to need orange, and that's the Golgi body, or you'll hear it also called Golgi apparatus, Golgi complex. It looks kind of like pancakes that have been flattened, depending on the illustration. Sometimes they look like this. Here, same thing, or sometimes they look like this, with little vesicles or little circles out at the end. So that's the Golgi apparatus, or the Golgi body. And it's also in our fungus. And then the lysosome is going to be yellow. These kind of in the middle, these are your lysosomes. The little dotted line goes right across there. Lysosomes are not in euglena, but they are in animal cells, but not in plant cells.